These are the Mingda Magician X2 and Pro 2. They are both budget-friendly printers packed to the brim with features, and from what I've been able to review so far and get my hands on, this is the end result of years of Ender 3 clones. So grab yourself a cuppa and let's have a chat about these printers. Also, a small portion of this video is sponsored by PCBWay. Going straight to the verdict, they are both pretty good printers, and I would recommend them for those looking for budget-friendly, easy starts into 3D printing. With that said, they are both slow printers for nowadays standards. Plus, in my testing, I was getting a little bit of mixed results, but at the price right this minute, with the discount that they've provided me of $219 and $449, it's going to be tough to find a much better deal. An affiliate link is down in the description if you would like to support what I'm doing here. Before I go much further, a little disclosure: both of these printers were provided to me for free to review, and everything you're about to hear are my own thoughts. If you'd like to take a look at my full review guidelines, they're linked down in the description. Right, so a quick rundown of the must-knows and the key features of both printers. They're basically identical to one another, so I won't need to repeat myself too much. Both feature PTFE lined hot ends with a max printing temperature of 260 degrees, which can be upgraded to an all-metal heat break for an extra $30 for a max temperature of 300 degrees. A little bit more on that later though. Overall, both printers have a pretty decent build quality. They have quite a few custom injection molded parts and all metal parts where it's absolutely necessary, along with some pretty neat cable management. They both have dual Z stepper drivers, with each lead screw having its own optical limit switch, which means auto gantry leveling, which is always nice to see. Everything is moving on V-rails, and the print beds use a dual V-rail design. They have one-touch auto bed leveling using the nozzle as a built-in strain gauge probe. The extruder is a dual direct drive with a built-in filament runout sensor just above it, and a double blower configuration for cooling. They both accept full-size SD cards as well as USB for file transfers, and they have a USB-C port for online file transfers, which I was unable to test. They also both have spring steel textured PEI print beds, and the key difference between the two is obviously their print volumes, with the X2 having a print volume of 230 by 230 by 260, which does include the purge line zone, and in my test that was actually 228 by 228 by 259, and the Pro 2 has a massive print volume of 400 by 400 by 400. Again, that includes the purge line zone, and in actual fact in my testing it's actually 398 by 398 by 399. The only other difference is the casing of the X2 is made of plastic, and the Pro 2 has a plastic core holding all the electronics and a massive metal base plate. Right, with that out of the way, a little while back I unboxed both of these and got them set up on a live stream, which I've linked down in the description if you want to go and check it out. The long and the short of it is they were both super easy to assemble and get up and running. The only downside was that I got the wrong power cables. I'm based in the UK and they gave me European plugs, and the packaging was styrofoam, which got absolutely everywhere. After the live stream, I went straight to putting both of these printers through their paces, doing an overall 3D printing tests. So that includes bridging, first layers, overhangs, tolerances, build volumes, phase mode, power recovery, and filament runout, and a whole bunch more. And this here were my findings. First, I like to get things going as fast as possible, so I'd like to use the profiles that are provided to me with the printer or their own slicers. In this case, both of the printers, I ended up using their own slicer, which is the Mingda Cura slicer, which is a fork of Cura slicer, of course, and that there had the profiles for everything, because the profiles that were provided with the printers, well, they were very outdated and did not work at all with the latest version of Cura. Apart from that, no other profiles were provided, and inside of the latest versions of slicers, I just could not find any pre-made setups for the X2 and the Pro 2. So keep that one in mind. By default, the Mingda Cura profiles want to put rafts on absolutely everything, so right away that was a red flag letting me know that they are not confident about their first layers. One little first layer sheet test later, I can clearly see why. Seems that they definitely cut some corners on their aluminium base plate. It is 3mm thick, which is pretty good, but it's definitely not flat, and no amount of bed mesh leveling is going to be able to perfectly compensate for that. The first layer sheet clearly shows that there are spots where the nozzle is too close or too far from the print bed, leading to inconsistent first layers, which I now realize was even further exacerbated by loose V-rollers all over the printers, which I was not guided to tighten up in the setup at all. After tightening these up, the results did get better, but they were not perfect. A general overview of printing using the all-in-one 3D printing test seems to be okay, with overhangs starting to fall apart at about 50 degrees. But it does clearly show that there seems to be a problem when it comes to stringing with both of these printers. So I did try to quickly fix the stringing issue, thinking that it was just a small tweak in the settings of the profiles. However, after countless tests, including retraction distance, retraction speed, printing temperature, flow rate, different and completely brand new dried out filaments, I was unable to fix this stringing on both of the printing. Having taken a whole bunch of reviews into account for this review, both printers seem to have this as a common issue, and most reviewers pretty much just say, hey, this is just a quick profile test change. However, I was unable to fix it once I even started playing around with the profiles. But that does not mean that it cannot be fixed, but this is a review, not a fix the printer video. Next up, I threw in my crystal clearance tolerance tower test, and both of them got a pretty decent between a 0.15 and a 0.1mm tolerance on the tower. However, first layer tolerances were just between a 0.2 and 0.3 on the clearance card test. I then quickly tested out power recovery and filament runout on a small little vase mode print, and the results were not exactly ideal. The power recovery does the whole reheating cycle right on top of the print, leading to oozing being left on the print, plus a clear layer shift of some sort. And when it comes to filament runout, it worked pretty well on the X2. However, on the Pro 2, it seemed to have a little bit of an under extrusion error when it starts to do the reprinting process, being unable to continue the tricky vase mode print after the filament was reintroduced. Next, we get to some big vase mode prints. I designed a custom vase and scaled it to print as large as possible on both printers. Both did an alright job, however, they do have noticeable machine vibration artifacts, which clearly shows the lack of input shaping due to not being clipper machines. However, this is the first time you get to see clearly just quite how big both of them can print. Now let's throw in a little sound test, which shows that both of these printers are technically pretty quiet. But I would not say they're ultra silent. They are quieter compared to most other printers out there, but you still definitely know there is a printer printing. Lastly, to round out the test, I put something cool to print at a max build height, this time being the bionic hand art by Layers Models. These prints definitely both took their time, but I have to say the end results really do look good, apart from the stringing and the little retraction artifacts. However, the sheer size of the Pro 2 print is just amazing. Printing big is something I definitely need to do more of. Taking a closer look at everything, we can clearly see that both printers are very capable. They do have that first layer issue, which is always worrying, and this unknown stringing issue, which is annoying. But I will for sure keep investigating it. There are for sure some tweaks that need to be done in the profiles to get much better results to fix these little imperfections where there's a whole bunch of retractions, but overall it's been a smoothish experience. However, there are two little warnings I do need to give you. First, for some reason, even though I do not have the all-metal hot end, I can print at 300 degrees, which you should only do if you have the all-metal hot end. Just so you're aware, you are not limited to 260 degrees if you want to try and do that, but if you do, print at 300 degrees without the all-metal hot end, there is a good chance that you're going to burn up that PTFE tubing, leading to all sorts of havoc. Secondly, in my 300 plus hours of printing, I can see that both of these printers are starting to wear out their Y belts. I still think they have plenty of life left in them, but this is a clear sign that something is rubbing somewhere and eventually it's going to need changing out. Now, just before we wrap it up, just a little quick message from this video's sponsor. PCBWay is not just at the cutting edge of PCB production, but also 3D printing and CNC machining. Whether you're in the need for intricate resin details or durable aluminium parts, PCBWay's vast material selection, including a custom request option, has you covered. Go and check what PCBWay can bring to your maker builds by clicking the link down in the description, and a big thank you to you and PCBWay for making this video possible. So, finishing things off, it's clear that both of these printers are what I would call end-of-the-line Ender 3 clones. They have everything that makers wanted 2 or 3 years ago. Does that mean that they still hold their own now? That's up to you to decide. I know this much: if I had these printers back 2 or 3 years ago, I would have called them game-changing. Now, probably not so much. However, with the price tag that they have at this very moment, to the print volume that they have, and if you have no rush at all when it comes to 3D printing your projects, then both of these printers are a steal of a deal, especially if you take into account the discounts that Mingda are providing me to share with you. There is one last thing though. I also do know that personally, these two printers will be my last under 100mm a second printers that I will ever review. At the end of the day, I'm addicted to faster 3D printing now. Does that mean slower budget printers are done for? I have no idea, but I look forward to seeing what comes next. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments or over in the Discord. A massive thank you to my patrons, and if you're looking around for other reviews of these Mingda printers, I was unable to find one that I would recommend for the Pro 2, but for the X2, I would recommend Aurora Tech's review. It's a great overview of all of the parts of the printer in a lot more detail. Thank you for watching and keep making.